If you've ever had that soul-crushing moment of calling your utility provider, I mean the gas company, the electricity, even your waste management, and you just get that automated message loop over and over.
Oh, absolutely. Or trying to read a bill that looks like it was written in, I don't know, ancient Sumerian.
Exactly. It's so frustrating. The relationship we have with these companies, the ones that provide our most essential services, it just feels so transactional and, well, deeply impersonal.
It really does. It feels like their number one priority is the infrastructure, the pipes and wires, and not you, the actual individual customer.
Right.
But what we're seeing right now, and this is what's so fascinating, is this massive, highly technical overhaul happening, behind the scenes. It's being driven by a whole mix of things: regulatory pressure, new competition, and just immense technological investment.
And it's all about data. It's entirely driven by data. And it promises to be, well, fundamentally change that entire experience of dealing with a utility provider. It's a move away from those impersonal transactional relationships to something the industry is calling hyper-personalized engagement.
Okay, so let's unpack that.
Yeah.
Today we are doing a deep dive right into the nexus of customer experience, or CX, and the intense enterprise technology that's needed to power it all within the utilities and power industry.
And our source materials really lay out a complete strategic blueprint for this transformation.
Yeah, they do. And just for clarity, we should probably mention, we'll follow our sources and just call the whole sector utilities.
Right, that makes sense. It's a massive vertical. It covers everything from electric power and natural gas to steam supply and, yeah, even sewage and garbage removal.
And they're all facing the same urgent need to, modernize their relationship with the customer.
They are.
So the blueprint our sources outline, it really centers the entire strategy around one specific piece of technology,
Yeah.
the customer data platform, or the CDP.
But, and this is the crucial part for this industry, the CDP can't just exist in a vacuum. It needs this essential deep integration with all the systems that manage the physical world.
The meters, the power grids, the physical pipes.
All of it. The sprawling physical assets.
And that fusion, that connection between the digital and the physical, that is the entire story of this deep dive.
Which brings us to the big question for you, the listener. How can a sector that's been traditionally defined by, huge infrastructure and a commodity supply, things you can't just customize or return, how can it possibly achieve this level of hyper-personalized engagement?
And what's really underneath that? What are the specific, often hidden data components that are required to stitch those two worlds, the digital and the physical, together to make this whole transformation real?
That's our mission today. We're trying to understand that architecture.
We're looking at how these organizations move beyond just sending a bill and fixing an outage. They are leveraging just massive amounts of data. I mean, everything from your behavioral clicks on a website all the way to real-time consumption data being pulled from a smart meter in your home.
And the goal?
The goal is accelerated revenue growth, higher customer lifetime value, and a dramatically improved customer experience. And the CDP, when you integrate it correctly with those physical asset platforms, is positioned right at the heart of this entirely new customer strategy.
So let's start at the most fundamental level, mapping that customer experience journey. As you mentioned, a utility CX journey is just so different from, say, retail or banking.
It's completely different. It's what we call heterogeneous because it combines the digital, the human, and the physical all at once.
That heterogeneity must be what makes the integration so incredibly challenging.
It is. I mean, when we talk about utility CX, we're not just talking about a website. We're talking about interactions with sprawling physical assets, with digital platforms, and with human employees, field technicians, call center agents, all happening at the same time. It's a living, breathing physical network that just happens to have a digital interface attached to it.
Okay, so let's try to visualize that. That whole spectrum of interaction points. It might start with, seeing a brand promotion or a flyer about a new green energy campaign.
Right. Then you might visit a website or their social media page. But then it immediately shifts.
It shifts into the physical world. You might be speaking to a call center agent, or you have a field technician actually show up at your house. You're interacting with your own meter, maybe your solar panels.
And you're being affected by the status of the massive shared power grids themselves. It is a hugely complex ecosystem to try and map out.
It really is.
And to manage that complexity and to get the data architecture right, we can break that full customer lifecycle down into three manageable chronological phases.
Okay, so phase 1, acquisition and move-in. This is right at the beginning of the relationship, but it's critical.
It's absolutely critical because it's where the data foundation is laid. If you get the data wrong here, everything that follows is just built on a really shaky foundation.
So what does that look like?
Well, the initial steps are sort of the pull. The customer gets information about offerings, maybe some targeted vouchers or personalized emails about green energy. They signal their interest.
And then the heavy lifting starts.
Then the heavy administrative lifting begins, starting the service, gas, electricity, water, which involves all the legal and financial formalities, creating the contract, and crucially, things like program enrollment and offer comparisons.
That offer comparison point is interesting. It feels like hyper-personalization is already starting right there, before they're even a paying customer.
It has to. Based on their address and maybe some publicly available info about the size of their home, the system should already be trying to figure things out. Are they a good fit for a time of use program? Are they likely to be a high usage or low usage customer?
Should they be pre-qualified for a specific green energy option?
Precisely. If they're moving into a building that has a certain type of construction or maybe some smart home integration, the utility should know that and be able to tailor that onboarding experience instantly.
So this whole phase really ends with the digital part, right? Registering for the customer portal, signing up for digital billing.
Exactly. And the data you collect here, demographics, detailed location, specific service needs, contract details, that forms the core identity that the CDP is going to enrich later on with operational and behavioral data.
Okay, so then we move into phase 2, the active customer phase. This is the real meat of the relationship.
It is. It's driven by routine service and, as we all know, often by unexpected, very high-stress events.
This is where most of the interactions happen.
Right. This is where the bulk of the transaction and, frankly, the emotional load resides. The interactions are both financial and operational.
So on the financial side, you have receiving and inquiring about bills, which is a huge source of friction for people.
A major one. And handling disputes, setting up payment arrangements, managing complex rebates or subsidies. These are all high-stress moments for a customer where, outdated or non-contextualized information can just instantly damage that relationship.
And then, crucially, the active phase is where the physical assets start to cause that friction.
Yes. We're talking about operational events that can range from just irritating to, genuinely hazardous.
You've got planned or unplanned outages, which are a massive frustration point that requires immediate, accurate communication.
It does. Or you have routine field service visits for maintenance. Or, in the worst-case scenario, you have reactive emergency services, like dealing with a gas leak or an electrical hazard.
But this is also where the big shift for a modern utility happens, isn't it?
This is exactly where the transition happens. The utility starts to provide value that goes beyond just the commodity itself.
They start delivering those specific, granular energy usage insights.
Exactly. And that's the first really crucial step toward hyper-personalization. You're turning anonymous meter data into actionable advice. Something like, your consumption peaked this week. Here are 3 ways you could adjust your thermostat settings to save 10% next month.
That's a huge change. And then finally, phase 3, termination of services. Even when the customer leaves, the data management challenge is still there.
It doesn't disappear. In fact, that final impression is often the one that lasts the longest. You still need careful, coordinated action.
Right.
The utility has to efficiently determine and schedule the shutoff date, communicate that clearly, manage the settlement of any final dues, which can include prorated charges.
And communicate the new address if a final bill or a refund needs to be sent out.
Exactly. If that process is clumsy, it just erodes trust even after the customer is gone.
Yeah.
And the data you get during termination, especially the reasons for leaving, that helps refine your future acquisition and retention models.
So we've mapped the customer's timeline, from the first digital ad they see all the way to the final account closure. Now we need to shift to the architecture that supports that journey.
Right. Because you simply cannot achieve hyper-personalization if your core business functions, sales, service, and e-commerce, are all operating in separate silos.
That seems to be the strategic mandate from our sources.
It is. The scope of modern utilities CX has to incorporate sales, service, marketing, e-commerce, and customer management as one integrated whole. The transformation is organized across 3 integrated business processes.
The first of those, and the one that's really focused on growth, is campaign to cash. This is the sales and marketing function.
This process tracks the entire journey, both financial and informational, of engaging with unknown prospects and converting them into known paying customers.
And it starts with identity.
It starts with identity registration, making sure you capture who they are and what their preferences are. Then it moves through key strategic steps like segmentation, accurate targeting, and brand positioning.
And this is all driven by the nuts and bolts of a modern sales pipeline, I'm guessing?
Absolutely. We're talking about sophisticated campaign management things like running A/B tests on digital offers, lead management, opportunity management, and comprehensive, quote, an offer management.
And that goes all the way through to order management.
Right up through efficient order management, not just for starting a service, but also for products, maybe like smart home devices or solar panel installations.
Now, here's where that severe integration mandate you mentioned really comes in. Can you give us a concrete example of where campaign to cash just completely breaks down if the front-end sales systems aren't talking to the back office?
Oh, certainly. Imagine a customer is promised a specific installation date for a new service that's based on a promotional offer that's managed by the marketing system.
Okay.
Now, if that front-end sales system isn't integrated in real time with the back-office functions like service order to cash, logistics, inventory management, resource scheduling, that promise is basically worthless.
So the customer gets an initial confirmation.
Yes, but then 2 days later, they get a call saying the necessary parts are actually out of stock, or that the field technician isn't available for another 3 weeks.
That is an instantaneous loss of trust.
Completely. The marketing promise just collapses against the operational reality.
Yeah.
Without that deep, real-time connection to logistics, finance, and master data management, the customer experience falls apart the very moment a contract is signed. The experience is only as good as the weakest link in that campaign to cash chain.
That complexity really leads us to the second core function, service problem to resolution. This is where the entire relationship is so often tested and defined.
It is. This process is focused entirely on managing service initiation and resolution, and it has to meet what we call the omni-channel requirement.
Meaning it has to work seamlessly across every possible way a customer might contact them.
Every single touch point. This involves providing best-in-class self-service platforms and portals, handling high-volume call center telephony efficiently, and streamlining service ticket engagement and case management.
The physical coordination part of this seems particularly challenging.
It is the most challenging part. It requires sophisticated service planning, granular resource scheduling, and really efficient field service dispatch. And all of that has to be supported by service logistics, making sure the right technician gets to the right place with the right tools and parts.
And since this is tied to physical assets, you also have to integrate things like warranty management, repair, and return management.
And general asset management directly into that service request workflow.
Our source material mentions that the key efficiency driver here is robust knowledge management. How does that actually translate into faster problem resolution?
Knowledge management basically acts as an accelerator. If a service agent or even a self-service chatbot has instant access to documented, verified solutions for common problems, let's say a specific issue with a popular smart meter model, they don't waste time escalating the issue or asking for help.
So you're not reinventing the wheel every time.
You're not reinventing the wheel every time a common problem comes up, and that dramatically lowers your resolution time and your cost, and crucially, it reduces the customer's frustration.
Which brings us to the third process, commerce to delivery. This is about moving the relationship beyond just basic utility consumption into a more modern retail-like experience.
This is the evolution. It's the move toward a truly productized utility. They are increasingly operating B2B and B2C portals and self-service platforms that go way beyond just simple bill pay.
So they need enterprise-grade systems to manage digital content, product content, promotions.
For everything, from surge protectors to community solar subscriptions.
So we're talking about utilities implementing modern e-commerce components that look and feel like any other high-end retailer. Browse functionality, cart functionality, e-commerce storefronts.
Exactly.
Our sources specifically mention support for headless commerce architecture. We should probably clarify that term for our listener.
That's a key piece of modern architecture, yeah. In a traditional commerce system, the front end, what the customer actually sees, and the back end, the inventory, the pricing, the logic, they're all tightly coupled together. They're part of the same system.
Okay.
Headless commerce separates the two. The back end handles all the heavy logic, while the front end, the head, can be anything. It could be a website, a mobile app, a smart speaker, or even an IoT device interface.
So for a utility, separating the head from the body lets them deliver that purchase experience through their main website, their mobile app, or maybe even through a smart meter display.
All while drawing from the same core product catalog and pricing logic in the back end.
I see.
It allows them to mix their online and offline channels seamlessly. The delivery side then has to manage digital payments, perform available-to-ship checks instantly for any physical products like a smart thermostat, and handle complex order fulfillment that might mix digital services with physical goods and installation appointment.
It's clear that all three of these processes, campaign to cash, service problem to resolution, and commerce to delivery, they all have to feed and be fed by a single source of truth about the customer.
They do.
Which, of course, brings us to the centerpiece of this entire transformation, the customer data platform.
The CDP. This is the central nervous system, and its
Yeah.
main objective, while it's technically very complex to execute, is actually pretty simple to articulate.
What is it?
It's converting raw customer data into actionable insights to significantly grow sales revenue, marketing ROI, and most fundamentally, customer lifetime value.
So this is way more than just a massive database or some giant spreadsheet. Our source defines it as a dynamic software platform, an orchestration layer.
It's really defined by its function. It has to
Yeah.
ingest customer-relevant data from these vastly diverse sources. Then it has to unify and contextualize that data into a single profile. Then it has to derive actionable insights, including predictive recommendations. And finally, it has to trigger real-time actions across the entire enterprise to drive specific business goals. It's like the conductor of the customer experience symphony.
So to get that coveted customer 360 or that single view, a CDP in the utility sector needs input from 4 absolutely critical and very diverse data universes.
Yes, let's list them. They have to align and integrate data from, first, the traditional utilities meter to cash systems. This is your core billing, your consumption, your financial history.
Okay, that makes sense.
Second, the omnichannel MarTech, CRM, and retail systems. This is the behavioral history, the sales interactions, the service tickets.
Third would be the customer self-service and commerce platforms, right?
Exactly. The recent clickstream data, portal logins, what products they've been browsing. And then there's the fourth one.
The one that makes this specific to utilities, the utilities and renewable energy systems.
This is the crucial specialized data. It includes data about their physical assets, solar panel performance, grid status, real-time IoT sensor inputs. If you miss this input, your 360-degree view is fundamentally incomplete.
And your personalization attempts will just fail the second they require any kind of operational context.
Exactly.
That specialization means you need some pretty serious technical capabilities within the CDP itself.
Let's get into the weeds on the technical components required to power these experiences.
Okay, so the CDP needs robust dynamic data capabilities. It has to support what's called dynamic omnichannel progressive profiling.
So it's not just a static profile.
No, it's not. It means continuously and dynamically building out a detailed profile of the customer across every channel, enriching it with every single interaction they have.
And things like behavior tracking, sentiment analysis, and experience capture are listed as essential. Why is knowing the customer's sentiment so critical for a utility provider?
Because a utility's relationship is often defined by these low-frequency but very high-stakes interactions, like an outage or a big billing dispute. Right.
Sentiment analysis, which leverages AI and natural language processing on call transcripts or chat logs, can tell the utility if a customer is approaching a breaking point before they officially file a complaint. It allows for proactive escalation. If a customer is clearly frustrated, the system needs to flag that profile instantly.
And that data then feeds into the core intelligence functions, the machine learning and the AI that power everything.
Precisely. You need ML and AI for continuous data exploration, running predictive algorithms that go way beyond simple correlations.
So what does that mean for a utility?
For a utility, this means being able to, say, predict an appliance failure based on consumption spikes in the data, or predict the likelihood of a high-value customer churning based on their recent portal activity and their call center history.
And this is what drives the insights, the analytics, and generates those timely recommendations.
For upsell or cross-sell, yes, like recommending a water-saving device right after you send them a high-usage notification.
So the CDP isn't just passively holding data, it's constantly iterating, constantly generating predictions.
It is. And all of this requires industrial-strength data management. You need data ingestion, identity and access management, data pipelining, and really rigorous data governance and orchestration.
Data governance must be critical here.
Absolutely. You have to have your KPIs established, you need reliable model design, and most importantly, you need cross-system workflows that allow for real-time action. If your predictive model says a customer is about to call the retention line, that insight needs to be instantly pushed to the call center agent's dashboard.
And underneath all of that high-powered tech is the issue of privacy and consent. We can't really talk about Customer 360 without addressing the massive power and responsibility that comes with knowing this much about a person.
Well, the source material explicitly positions this as the privacy coin. The technology makes personalized marketing extremely powerful, but that power carries this profound risk of being, intrusive or just plain creepy. Privacy has to be baked into every single moment of the customer experience.
And the two sides of that coin are customer identification and access management, or CIM.
And customer consent.
Okay, so CIM.
CIM ensures the system can uniquely identify and authenticate the customer across all channels, the website, the call center, the mobile app, and provide secure, relevant access to that customer's data.
And consent.
Consent ensures that even if you can identify them and you have their data, you are respecting their stated preferences and complying with all the evolving legal data regulations.
This is where that upset customer scenario from the source material really illustrates why you need real-time unified data. Let's walk through that example.
Okay. Imagine a customer has just had a really frustrating event, maybe an unexpected disconnection or a huge bill that's clearly wrong. They call the contact center, and they are already in a state of high negative sentiment.
They're angry.
They're very angry. They're talking to an agent in the CRM system, trying to resolve a serious operational issue.
At the exact same time, the automated marketing system, which is just optimized to drive revenue, looks at their general profile. It sees them as a high-value account.
And it sees they haven't responded to the latest promotion for, say, a discounted smart thermostat.
And since that system isn't connected to the service system in real time,
it fires off a highly personalized, very enthusiastic promotional email just moments after that customer hangs up the phone after yelling at the service agent.
That is a catastrophic disconnection.
It is. That's the moment the customer feels truly alienated.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like they're dealing with two completely different, uncaring companies. The CIM and the service CRM have to communicate instantly with the marketing automation system, powered by the CDP, to flag that customer with high negative sentiment and suppress that promotional email until the issue is resolved.
That really highlights a common point of confusion. We keep mentioning the CRM. How does the customer relationship management system actually differ from the CDP in this new architecture?
That's a great question. The CRM remains the source of transactional data. It's the stable foundation that holds the definitive history of service tickets, sales interactions, and the core customer master data.
But it's not built for speed.
It's not built for high-speed, multi-source data unification. That's what the CDP does.
So the CDP is the orchestration layer.
The CDP is the real-time data orchestration layer. It ingests that CRM transactional data, but then it blends it instantly with behavioral data from the website, asset data from the meter, sentiment data from the call logs.
It creates that dynamic 360-degree view.
And it makes it intelligent with AI. And then critically, it pushes those intelligent insights back to the customer service agent sitting in the CRM system or to the field technician's mobile device.
So the agent is actually enabled by the CDP. They can see the customer's recent clickstream behavior, their satisfaction score, their pending service issues, all derived and presented by the CDP.
Which lets that agent shift from just reactive data entry to truly informed, proactive consultation.
And that's how personalized engagement scales. It moves from a generalized marketing campaign to marketing to one.
Driving dynamic automation based on heuristics and machine learning algorithms for real-time personalization across every single touch point.
Okay, we have established the advanced digital stack. Now we have to confront the unique challenge of utilities, the physical infrastructure. This synergy is mandatory for success.
It is the mandatory synergy. A successful strategy requires perfect harmony between that digital layer, the CX, and the CDP, and the operational layer, the utility service and asset platform. You have to link the electrons and the pipelines directly to customer preferences and sentiment data to predict and serve them properly.
So what exactly does this asset platform manage? This is the physical backbone of the company.
It governs the entire physical network. This includes the whole asset lifecycle. Detailed asset planning, performance management, risk analysis across the network, capital project management, and detailed network mapping of every pipe, wire, and substation.
And operationally.
Operationally, it's handling massive data flows from meter readings, managing energy programs, scheduling maintenance and service, overseeing warranty and claim management, and, maybe most visibly to the customer, handling outage management and restoration.
Our sources emphasize that this platform is increasingly using next-gen tools like the Internet of Things, IoT devices, and digital twins. Let's focus on the digital twin for a second. For a listener who's focused on immediate ROI, what's the single biggest practical benefit of running a digital twin model of a power grid asset?
That's a sharp question. Traditional predictive maintenance, it relies on historical data and periodic inspections. A digital twin, which is a virtual real-time replica of a physical asset, it provides one immediate massive advantage: simulation.
Simulate?
Yeah. You can test hypothetical stressors, a surge in demand, a sudden temperature drop, a planned component replacement in the virtual environment without ever risking a physical outage or asset damage. It allows for optimized preventative maintenance, which reduces failures and extends the asset's life, and that translates directly to fewer service interruptions for the customer.
So the IoT sensors feed the twin with real-time health data, and the twin models the future, preventing problems before they even start.
That's the idea.
Now, let's talk about the data flow between this physical asset layer and the CDP. Our source material gives a very specific word of caution. It is critical not to bring all the transactional data into the CDP. Why do you have to be so selective?
This is a critical architectural decision. You do not want the CDP to become this slow, overwhelmed data lake of just raw, high-volume transactional metrics.
For example?
Well, smart meters can generate reading data every 15 minutes. If you ingest that high-frequency data for millions of customers into the CDP, you just clog the system and you undermine its primary purpose.
Which is to provide actionable customer insight in real time.
Exactly. The CDP is an insight engine, not a historical archive.
So what specific types of data should be integrated from the asset platform?
You have to filter and aggregate. Instead of every 15-minute meter reading, you integrate the aggregated consumption pattern over a week, or maybe the calculated difference between expected and actual consumption.
You're bringing in header-level data.
Right. Header-level data like service location type or key performance indicators, KPIs like outage status in this immediate neighborhood or billing correction status. These are the data points that are relevant to a customer interaction, not the raw engineering telemetry.
And this integration is what makes hyper-personalization actually practical. How does linking this filtered asset data to the CX translate into tangible benefits for the customer?
It's essential for efficient customer service and field service. When a customer calls with a billing question, the agent, who's powered by the CDP, can instantly see the service location details, the status of their meter, and whether there was a recent outage that might have affected their usage.
It allows for accurate handling of complex requests,
like disconnection or reconnection, and it ensures efficient resource scheduling and dispatch because it's based on real-time asset health.
And most importantly, for the customer themselves, it moves that relationship from being reactive to being proactive.
Absolutely. The utility can now provide real-time consumption insights. Electricity, water, solar usage, right on their self-service portal. It takes that asset data and instantly recommends specific behavior-changing actions.
For example,
the system sees a spike in usage between 4 p.m. and 8 p.m. It flags it, and it sends a personalized notification recommending they shift heavy appliance use to off-peak times. That completely moves the conversation from here is your confusing bill to here is how we can help you save money right now.
That is the ultimate goal. Hyper-personalization driven by the most intimate data point of all, which is the physical operation of their home.
And that takes the concept of personalization right down to the level of a single household or a single premise, all driven by highly personalized predictive recommendations based on their unique consumption profile and asset health.
Now that we've established the architecture, let's pivot a bit and look at the bigger landscape. What are the powerful macro trends that are pushing the utility sector to adopt this aggressive, expensive data strategy right now?
Well, there are 4 major shifts that are really forcing this investment. First is sustained political intervention and regulation, constantly shifting requirements for pricing, service delivery, and decarbonization targets.
Okay.
Second, increasing competition, especially as deregulation opens up markets and you see these new, agile, green energy providers emerge who are, digital native from day one.
And third is the rising customer demand for hyper-personalized CX.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which is a carryover from the flawless digital experiences they're having everywhere else, like in retail or with streaming services.
And fourth,
the rapid innovation in both business models and technology, that suddenly makes this level of integration actually possible.
So all of these forces mean that just supplying a reliable commodity isn't enough anymore.
It's no longer sufficient. Utilities have to compete on service and on insight, which elevates data intelligence as a strategy right to the board level. The future relies on securely leveraging all enterprise data, applying advanced intelligence, data science, ML, AI, predictive analytics, and delivering business actionable insights at that critical moment of decision-making near real time.
This is where we see advanced automation and IoT becoming truly transformative. We're moving beyond simple automation.
We are seeing a powerful convergence. Robotic process automation, or RPA, which handles repeatable tasks, and machine learning, which handles complex pattern recognition, are coming together to create what's called autonomous automation.
So what are some examples of that?
Our sources cite examples where edge computing and IoT devices look at complex industrial data streams like sensor inputs from a remote gas pipeline and take immediate autonomous decisions on maintenance scheduling or pressure adjustments without any human intervention. This leads to tremendous savings and, of course, increased safety.
And the physical deployment of advanced IoT is also evolving quickly. We mentioned autonomous drones or unmanned aerial systems. What's the specific application there?
These drones are facilitating risky service inspections of geographically disparate assets. Think long-haul power lines, remote wind farms, pipeline installations. They gather high-resolution imaging and thermal data, which is then instantly fed back into the asset platform in the CDP.
And that reduces risk and cost.
Dramatically. But it also improves the machine and pipeline maintenance prediction models, which helps prevent failures that would lead to service disruption for customers.
And the combination of edge computing and IoT devices is shaping engagement right at the edge of the network in the customer's own home.
Exactly. Edge computing means you're processing the data right where it's generated, at the smart meter or the home hub, instead of sending everything back to a centralized cloud.
Which allows for faster decisions.
It allows for secured, hyper-personalized decisions driven by ML recommendations in the moment. For example, the system sees a consumption spike, runs the anomaly detection model locally on the device, and sends a notification to the customer's phone within seconds, all before that data is even fully processed for billing.
Finally, we have to talk about the massive investment trend. Sustainability and green hydrogen. This is a huge strategic focus.
It's enormous. Green hydrogen, which is obtained by using renewable electricity to split water via electrolysis, generates energy with no polluting emissions. Tremendous capital is being invested here. And this trend is crucial because it links the commodity supply directly back to brand equity and customer preference.
So it's not enough to just have green energy programs. The utility has to define a customer-centric sustainability strategy and then articulate it in a personalized way.
Precisely. They need to drive their brand equity by showing customers how they fit into the sustainability narrative. This means linking personalized sustainability experiences, say, recommending a specific microgrid program or an EV charging schedule that's customized for their tariff and their driving habits with individual customer preferences.
And the CDP is essential there.
Because it's what manages the preferences that tie to the brand messaging.
We've established the strategic necessity and the technological framework. This sounds like an enormous multi-year undertaking. What are the key recommendations from our source material for successfully implementing a customer data platform in this kind of complex, asset-heavy environment?
First and foremost, collaboration and prioritization. A CDP implementation is not an IT project, it's a business transformation. It requires cohesive work between the business organization, marketing, sales, service, and the IT organization. You have to use structured methods, like design thinking, to bring all the key stakeholders together, marketing, sales, service, and operations, to brainstorm and agree on clear, prioritized business use cases before you start designing the technology architecture.
So you start with the business outcome, not the technology purchase. And you can't try to build everything at once.
You absolutely cannot. It has to be a phased, prioritized, use case-driven approach. Start small. Implement the CDP to solve one specific pain point, maybe just integrating the billing and website data to enable personalized email campaigns, and then you expand from there.
And we have to reiterate that critical word of caution about data integration.
Yes. Do not consider bringing all of your transactional data into the CDP. The implementation teams must identify which core systems, the asset platform, the CRM, the billing engine, need to be prioritized for integration, and then within those systems, define only the relevant header, aggregate, or KPI-driven data that needs to be considered first.
And failure to do that.
Failure to do that will result in a bloated, slow, and incredibly extensive implementation.
Let's talk about the payoff. This transformation requires immense investment. How do utilities justify this financially? Our source mentions a specific synergy value model, the tetrahedron effect. We should probably unpack this for the listener because it provides the strategic justification for the whole CDP investment.
This model is critical because it moves the conversation away from simple cost reduction and toward exponential value creation. The tetrahedron effect measures the financial business case by focusing on the incremental impact of the customer experience.
So, the total incremental impact, labeled CE, is a function of three primary revenue drivers plus a synergy element.
That's right.
What are those three drivers that form the base of this tetrahedron?
Okay, so the first is revenue generated from increasing customer lifetime value, CLV. That is often through personalized retention efforts or subscription-based value-added models. The second is revenue from pursuing net new sales growth. So bring in new customers efficiently through those highly targeted campaign-to-cash processes.
And the third?
The third is revenue from accelerating top-line growth through new revenue streams. That's things like those new commerce offerings we discussed, selling specialized products or energy packages.
So the overall financial impact is the sum of the incremental investment times the revenue from those three drivers. But the source insists that calculation is not enough.
It isn't, because it doesn't account for the exponential factor. That's the synergy, which is labeled S. Synergy is the exponential impact created when those three strategy drivers, CLV, net new sales, and new revenue streams, start flowing across the organization seamlessly, all fueled by the integrated real-time data from the CDP.
So the CDP breaks down the silos that were limiting the value of each function before.
That's it, exactly. If the marketing campaign, which is net new sales, promises an installation date that the operations team, which is CLV and service, can actually deliver on because the systems are unified, the value of that interaction is exponentially greater than if they were siloed. When sales, service, and commerce all leverage the same unified intelligent profile, the total impact, that CE, is far greater than the simple arithmetic sum of the three parts. The synergy, the S, is the multiplier that justifies the massive cost of integrating these complex physical asset platforms with the digital customer stack. It validates that the CDP is not just an incremental improvement, it's a strategic infrastructure investment designed to create exponential organizational value.
That model really emphasizes that the breakthrough innovation isn't in the platform itself, but in the fusion that it enables.
The breakthrough is marrying that asset data like real-time meter readings and IoT sensor inputs from the physical infrastructure with customer behavioral and transactional data to create those immediate personalized recommendations for energy usage. It connects the dots between the asset's performance and the customer satisfaction.
And that is how a sector built on pipes and wires and infrastructure achieves true hyper-personalization. It's driven by the most intimate data point of all: how, when, and where you consume the essential services provided to your home or business.
It moves so far beyond just marketing. It's operational intelligence, delivered as a superior, individualized customer experience.
So we've established that for utilities, the CDP isn't merely a marketing tool. It's an operational necessity. It successfully unifies that complex customer lifecycle acquisition, active, termination with the sprawling physical infrastructure managed by the service and asset platform. The knowledge nugget here, the real breakthrough innovation, is that this entire strategy hinges on marrying that asset data with customer behavioral data to create those real-time, hyper-personalized recommendations, right down to the single household or premise.
And this leads us to the final provocative thought for you, the learner. If the ultimate goal of this technological arms race is marketing to one, and this comprehensive strategy integrates real-time data from everything, from autonomous drones inspecting power grids to consumption monitors in your own home to every minute detail of your digital service interactions, we have to ask, what are the ultimate boundaries of personalization when your physical infrastructure usage becomes the primary, real-time driver of your digital experience and engagement?
That's a powerful question.
How comfortable are we, really, when the organization serving us energy knows our consumption habits, our peak usage patterns, and our potential appliance failure points better than we know them ourselves, and then uses that immense knowledge to define our every single interaction? This is the core social and economic reality of the hyper-connected, data-driven utility future that we are all rapidly entering.